is up? What is up, everybody? We are live. We are live. We are back. We are back with another episode of Saucy Conversation, Season 5, Episode 7. And I got a special guest in the house. But before we get to our special guest in the house, I got to pay some bills. So I want to send a special shout out to our sponsors. First, Holistic Remedies. They got body butters, oils, all that good stuff. CBD oil. You got any aches and pains? Go check out Holistic Remedies. It's black owned. Make sure you support. Use that promo code HR Me Saucy, and you will be get 10% off at checkout. That's HR Me Saucy, and you get 10% off at checkout. Also, send another special shout out to our other sponsor, which is Click A Vodka, who've been down with us since season 1. God bless everybody over there. Thank you for all the love and support. If you'd like a bottle shipped to your house, just hit that description below. Go to the Click A website, and they will actually send you a bottle right in front of your doorstep. I'm your boy Jeff. Shout out to my co-host that's going to be here today. Shout out to Mac, Bernice, and Daddy is. We've been working. Our schedule's been a little busy, a lot, so we haven't been doing a lot of potting. But we got the network coming soon, 24-hour network. So you're going to see a lot of more shows, a lot of more content going down. So we got documentaries coming. We got a lot of webisodes and other series like that. So just make sure you guys stay tuned and don't forget to support us at Social Conversations. Follow us on all social media platforms and follow us on all streaming platforms as well. So I got a special guest in the house, ladies and gents. She's been doing her thing in the field. She's an American health and wellness coach. Ladies and gentlemen, Social Nation, would like to welcome Nurse Blue is in the house. Get a round of applause.
Hello, Jeff.
Hello, hello. How are you doing? How are you doing today?
I'm great, and thank you for inviting me on. I'm excited. I have arrived.
Absolutely, absolutely. Welcome to Social Conversations. It's a pleasure to have you here. In the month of May, we actually recognize uh, mental health awareness, which has been one of the um, big topics in the last couple of years of mental health being a discussion here, not just in America but nationwide. And it's a pleasure to have you on the show to get your expertise on how to deal with day-to-day mental healthness. So thank you for joining the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no
And hello
problem.
to your listening audience and
Yes,
everyone who
indeed.
sees me. Hello, everybody.
Yes, indeed. So, Nurse Blue, before we start with now and future goals for you, let's take a little back because everybody has a beginning.
Yes.
So, give us a little bit brief background of your childhood. Tell us about your parents, the house, the household. Let's just start there.
Oh, I love starting from the beginning, Jeff.
Mhm.
Well, first of all, I'm from Chicago, Illinois.
Chi-town, okay.
Yes, absolutely. I am a South Side baby, legitimately South Side. South Side, like not too far from well, Michelle Obama lived and the Obamas, and
Wow.
so yes, but I live in Orlando, Florida now, and my roots in Chicago. It's quite interesting because actually, my second home was a radio station, so I had a really interesting background. And my parents originally from Mississippi, and grew up in the southern era where Mississippi was a terrorist state.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like America. My father, I would say, is kind of like the Black Forrest Gump for people who've never seen Forrest Gump. This simple man that has gone on and did extraordinary things using what I use now, soul health, to get there.
Right.
So I was brought up among, I would say, the world's legendary, iconic figures, because the radio station that we own is WVON, and actually, all of the greats had to come through there. So I was surrounded by the brilliant and the broken in Chicago, right?
Gotcha.
And so it was like a petri dish where it was a learning center, for me growing up amongst activists, legends, entertainers. My father was a big figure in the entertainment business, and so he was known for originally crowning Aretha Franklin the Queen of Soul. So I had a really interesting upbringing. But at the same time, because we were a talk radio station,
Mm.
all of my life, I've been serving our community because that was, that was my dad was an entrepreneur and that was our business. And I worked in the family business for many years. And just as most people, when you're right there working in the business and around it all the time, you don't really know what you have growing up. And it was a talk station. So you're like, it wasn't like it was a music station at the time when I started out as music, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
big music station. All the big greats like Michael Jackson and Aretha, all of them came through there when they came to Chicago. But as I was getting older, it became a very socially active radio station.
Yeah.
And I just kind of grew up like, what is all of this about? I was surrounded by artists and activists. And then really what I realized that much later on is that I was being groomed to be an activist myself, but an
Mm.
activist in health, right?
Right.
So my dad obviously was doing all of this to pass the radio stations because he was an entrepreneur. So he had several stations onto the kids. And I was trying to run away from it because I had been around it my entire life. So I was like, you know what? I want to serve people. I want to make a difference. And I really wanted to crack the code on how do we elevate the vibrational frequency of our soul? How do we become free? How do we become emancipated? Right. And I thought health could be quite possibly the direction where I can get away from the family business and be
Yeah.
impactful. Right. So went to Hampton University, got my bachelor's of science degree in nursing, and then decided to go back to the family business as opposed to working in a hospital, because what I learned about healing is that that's not what we were taught in nursing school,
Right.
and then later on in my career working for my family's business, I later was diagnosed with an autoimmune deficiency,
Mm.
psoriasis. And that led to a really interesting path because I knew from going to nursing school that I didn't want to be on medications for the rest of my life
Mm.
to manage it.
Right.
I knew that being on medication, harsh medications, could potentially I would potentially at a later time in my life have a problem with my kidneys or my liver or some other things, and I started looking for a natural alternative, right? So as I started looking for a natural alternative, my first question was, how did I get here, Jeff? Like, I thought I was doing all the right things. I thought I was eating well. I worked out all the time. I was in my 20s. So it wasn't like, I had gone off and I wasn't, older where you start feeling like, well, I'm at the age where I start, body start breaking down, any of that stuff.
Right.
Um, but that led me on my path to natural healing. And over the years, I would just say, after discovering how magnificent this body was, I kind of fell in love with the creation of this body, started respecting it in a way
Mm.
that it just kind of led me to what I believe I cracked the code with. It led me to a point where I became a spiritual activist, a lifer, and Nurse Blue was born, which is, stands for build, love, unite, and empower people about soul health.
Right.
So let's just say it's all coming together. Why I was born, why I was born into this family, why I grew up in a radio station, why I was surrounded around a lot of adversity as well. Because a lot of times people think, when you come from a somewhat privileged background, that you have everything, you have a silver spoon in your mouth. And in my case, I was being prepared for my mission, and that was to help people to release toxic energy that lead to disease,
Mm.
reversible disease. So what that means was I went through a lot of low vibrational energy, meaning hard times, difficult things, bullying, growing up. There was a lot of drama that kind of took place in the family. that I had that was never processed, that I had to deal with, that I had to process, that I had to go through, that was a part of my healing. And you look back on it now, you're like, okay, now it all makes sense. So here I am. I'm helping people get past the same stuff that I went through. How's that?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it ain't easy. So kudos to
No,
you. Um,
thank you.
growing up, what type of student you was? Was you a straight A student? Did you hate
Well,
school?
let me just say this. I had strict parents, so I couldn't walk in the house with certain grades or else, right? And I went to private school, so my father was like, "I'm not paying for these. I'm not paying for D's, C's. C's means average." So I stayed in between the A B's because let me tell you what happened. I made straight A's like around first grade, and then
Uh,
they were expecting for that to happen every time. So I was like, let me shake it up a little bit.
right,
So the expectation wouldn't be nearly as high as it was. But
right,
overall, I think I did. I was pretty balanced
right.
throughout school. Yes.
Did you play like any sports in school,
You
or
know
was it
what, Jeff? I did not play sports in school, and that's one of the biggest regrets for
Mm,
me, quite frankly. I didn't play sports, but I love to dance. I'm a musicologist as
okay?
well. Yeah. I am an avid music lover, and I believe in the power of how music can help to heal the body.
Mm,
So really, I mean, I love to skate. I love to dance. I can't sing. At least, maybe I can. Maybe maybe I'm too hard on myself. I don't know. But I really enjoyed. I've always been a people person, and
right,
I really love learning. So, but I did not necessarily gravitate toward learning in the way that I have right now to much older until I was much older in life. Like I did what I needed to do to make sure my family was satisfied with my grades. But then overall, I mean, over time, I developed this love and enthusiasm for information.
right.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I became a little bit addicted to as I got older, learning.
Did you have like a favorite topic or like subject in school? Did you like to take like English, math? Did you have any favorite? And did you have any mentors in school to guide you where you're at now?
I had several mentors because thankfully, being at the radio station, I was always surrounded around leaders. So just think about it. Any day that I would go there, I don't know who was coming through the door, who was going to be interviewed, right?
Mm,
And so whether it could have been Reverend Jesse Jackson one day, it could have been Jill Scott, it could have been Emmett Till's mother, Minister Louis Farrakhan. So I was always in a learning, mentoring environment. Um, but in terms of my favorite subjects growing up, I would say English was a favorite subject of mine. Now, please don't judge me if I start messing up my verbs right now. If I'm
Oh, you
not
ain't the only one. I'll tell you that. I
clutching,
start messing up some stuff in a minute.
hello, and, and
Yeah.
and then my father, I'm convinced he just made up words. I'm like, Daddy, that doesn't work out. But I would say I've always kind of gravitated toward reading, English, music. I wasn't necessarily a math person. Later on, I started to really fall in love with science.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a math person myself. I'm actually in school right now,
Yeah,
and
really.
a couple of months ago, I took a like a that whole month I had to take math, and I'm just glad I got my 75. I get my 75, and I'm gonna keep it pushing. Okay,
Absolutely.
like
Absolutely.
me and math, there's no mix.
You can't be great at everything, Jeff.
Exactly, especially in math. You mentioned music. What type of music that you enjoy?
Oh, I'm a music aficionado.
Talk to me
Um,
now. Talk to me.
okay. Well, I grew up, obviously. My dad was a blues disc jockey.
Mm,
Okay. So I grew up, BB King was a really good friend of his. I was,
love, love
yeah,
BBK.
Bobby Blue Band. So I was around blues music. Coco Taylor was a big blues artist who actually lived down the street from our house. So
Oh,
I can't say at a very young age that I was attracted to blues, but later, but that was the music
you
that was
understand it
most
now.
right.
Oh,
Oh, come on now.
yeah,
Now I
yeah.
definitely understand it. Blues and gospel are the foundations, right, of how my life was built. I love jazz music. Of course, I'm an R&B. I love R&B. I love hip hop. I love hip hop that elevates the vibrational frequency of my soul. Okay.
Mm,
But I also love, I like bossa. I love I absolutely I love meditation music now in the work that I do. The 852 hertz frequency is what I use to really balance my body. But I would say if it has a great rhythm, I love opera, I like classical. I mean, I just have an appreciation for the power of the
mm.
vibration of music and I just respect it so highly, you know. And in our town in Chicago, Chicago is a big music city, so
Right.
we were, you know, constantly going to music festivals, and my dad was a concert promoter, so I was around a lot of entertainers my entire life. I wasn't attracted to the business,
Right.
but I was always attracted to the art form, and even now, I mean, I create workshops, blue soul workshops that are designed to help people um, elevate their frequency with various artists. I like to promote new artists that are not getting airplay now, in which I simply don't understand why there's so much talent out here that's being locked out of the industry.
Mhm.
But hey, I'm a music enthusiast.
Yeah, I love music myself. I grew up in a household where both of your parents have their own record collection, and
Yes,
they couldn't even touch either of record collection. You had to get permission. Like, don't touch my records, don't touch
that's
mine.
right. Look,
Exactly.
that's
Yep.
valuable, right?
Yes, indeed.
Did they, and well, let me ask because I don't know your age, so
Mm.
you look young. All right. So did you guys have albums when you?
Yes.
Okay.
My parents had albums that had everybody. They had
Yes.
old Motown records,
Come
45s.
on.
They had they was also my father's a preacher, so he had like a lot of gospel, like the Williams brothers,
Yes.
the Joseph Mass Choir, Reverend
Yeah.
James
There
Cleveland.
you go.
Yeah, my mother's more like Earth, Wind, and Fire, the Jacksons,
Yes. That's that's
Temptations.
when real music and that musical art form was um that I would say the healthiest time of music for us. I would say it was probably the 70s.
I agree with you. Drop a bomb from Miss Blue right now. I agree with you. That is the best era. I'm talking about Shy Lights.
Yes. The dramatics, the
Dramatic.
stylistics, Earth, Wind, and Fire, the Commodores, the
Oh my God.
Delphonics, you name it.
Al
It
Green,
come
Teddy
on, Shaka
Pendergrass.
Khan.
What?
I mean, Tina Marie. I mean, it was so Rick James. It was so much that was coming out of great music that was coming out at that time. The SOS band. I mean,
Man,
we can
oh.
just name it over and over and over again. And let me tell you this, Jeff. This is going to crack you up.
Mm.
Um, my first dog was given to me by Don Cornelius of Soul
Oh,
Train. He
wow.
used to work for our radio station.
Get out of here.
Yeah, and Barack Obama used to be the fill-in host at our station.
This is
Before,
before he got Soul Train?
yeah, this no, well, before Don Cornelius did Soul Train, yes, he used to be a police officer.
Right, right, right. 'Cause I saw the docu series.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he
so
went off to live his dream. He had a dog, a German Shepherd, and he didn't want to take it. He gave it to our family, and so I mean, I was born to help refresh and restore the soul. My father named Aretha the Queen of Soul.
right.
Don Cornelius gave
Wow.
his dog the soul train. Look
That
at
is
the
deep.
clues.
That is deep. That is
Isn't
deep.
that amazing?
That is amazing. Wow. I know you mentioned jazz. Have you ever heard of King Curtis?
No. Enlighten me.
So King Curtis was a jazz musician. That's actually my cousin.
Really?
Yeah, so he used to well he did jazz has a lot of solo albums, but he also did play for people like Aretha Franklin. So if you watch the Respect movie, she actually mentioned King Curtis because the band that she was recording with down south, they couldn't go on tour with her.
Okay.
So one of the road managers said, "Oh well, we got King Curtis as a backup. That's actually my cousin." So you got a lot of check him
Really?
out. Yeah, he got a lot of jazz albums.
I am.
Yeah, God bless his
Absolutely.
soul.
I'm gonna check them out.
Yeah, rest in peace to him. That King Curtis. Yeah, so he was a big jazz artist, played the saxophone and everything.
Thank you for giving me that information. I love checking out people, artists that I'm haven't, not familiar with. So
Yeah,
thank you for that.
absolutely, absolutely. So, did you go to college?
Yes, I did. I went to Hampton University,
Oh,
and
Hampton.
that's
Okay.
yeah, and that's where I studied nursing.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
HBCU. Okay, Hampton.
come on.
Yeah.
I
Now,
was
how's
running away from home.
you run? Yo, you trying to get away? I trying to get out of here. It's too strict.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I wanted to really, prior to going to Hampton
Mhm.
High School, I was in private school my entire life. I was in Catholic school.
Mm.
And so I went to a predominantly white Catholic school. So when it was time for me to go off to college, I wanted to go and have a different experience. And Hampton was a great experience for me. HU did they fizzle for my education.
Good.
So it
Did
was,
you join any fraternities? And
no, I did
no.
not. I wasn't involved in any kind of sorority life or any of that. Once you go to school for nursing, it's like you're on a totally different trajectory. It's like they take you into that school and you are like in another planet. It's like everybody else is enjoying their college life while I'm at a clinical. I'm waking
Right,
up
right,
at 5 o'clock in the morning learning about the human body. So I
right,
did not pledge. No, that wasn't my path.
right. So after leaving college, what was your original plans? What you were trying to? What direction you were trying to go into?
Well, I knew I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Even though I went to school for nursing, I really did not consider myself working in the hospital.
Mm.
And largely because I saw something during my time at Hampton at one of our clinicals, like you were able to go in and observe, and it's kind of like an internship for nurses.
Right.
And I observed a hospital administration meeting while I was there, and it made me extremely uncomfortable
Mm.
um, about what I witnessed. That's when I realized, like, most people go into medicine because they really want to make a difference, right? And that's when I realized it was a business.
Oh yeah.
That's when I realized that it is straight up a business. And I began to um, change my relationship with how I wanted to be a nurse, in other words. And my father had created the path for me through the radio station to kind of put some creativity around it. So when I went back to work at the family business, all of my clients, which were, we were working with different small businesses, agencies, advertising agencies, corporations, small business, whatever. And I saw them as my nursing clients. Like I did the entire nursing process as I was helping them to market their businesses in the community. And it just kind of worked out well for me using that approach. And I've used it my entire life. So that's the one beautiful thing I learned from nursing is the nursing process and how it can be applied in a variety of capacities. And but my original vision was to either establish at some point a business for myself. I didn't know if it was going to necessarily be natural or not because I had not at that point been introduced to natural modalities. So I stepped away from the traditional model.
Mhm.
And then over time, as I began to grow and learn about this human body and all of the information I had never learned before, I decided to go down the coaching realm. So I am a health and wellness coach with a nursing background.
Mm.
And I think that at the time that we're living in right now, Jeff, I think that's what people truly need to understand. Like, I respect Western medicine for, all that it has to offer, but I think it's healthy for us to have alternatives to, what we currently have now. And I'm happy that I did I'm happy that my life took me down that path, because now I think I can be an extremely valuable asset and provide people with relevant information for the time we're living in right now, because I believe we're really working with expired information
Right.
largely.
Absolutely. It's a lot going on, especially these times, especially the COVID.
Yes, it changed the game. It
Changed
changed
everything.
it changed the entire planet. Okay.
Absolutely.
And we're still, I was just having a conversation today with a colleague of mine. You know, what people have to understand is that, first and foremost, doctors and nurses, our industry has shifted so much. There's a shortage of nurses in the hospital right now. And now I just recently read an article from the New York Times actually stating that there's about to be over nearly 100,000 doctors that will be leaving the medical industry over the next few years.
Wow.
And people, the third leading cause of death now is it's taking place in the hospital.
Wow.
The third leading cause of death. So you have shortages of nurses, soon to be shortages of doctors. And when you think about it, where is that going to leave us, right? So it's important for us to return back to understanding truly what this body is, because doctors and nurses in Western medicine, it's we don't heal, we fix.
Right.
Healing and fixing is two different things, right?
Right.
And healing doesn't take place in the body. Healing takes place in the soul.
Right. Absolutely.
We're not taught that.
Yeah, we're
You
not.
know,
Especially
that's
in our
not
community. We taught to like hide the pain,
right.
camouflage it, and this, put on a happy face, a mask on, just go out and just handle your business. And it can't
Exactly.
and it doesn't work out.
Absolutely.
So,
And oh, I'm sorry. I'm
no, I would say it's self-destruction. That's what it is.
yeah. And you know what? That is amazing that you would say that. I was thinking about that today. I started singing the song Self Destruction. We're headed for self destruction.
That's my song.
But when you think about it, the number one killer of humanity across the board is chronic stress. And I just can't understand, why haven't we figured out how to defeat it?
Hmm. Chronic,
Because
yes.
I
That's
mean,
right. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we go after everything but the enemy that is taking out human beings left and right. And that's why really COVID has such an impact on people, is because stress impacts the immune system. And for people of color, what we don't understand is that we have historically been under chronic stress, and chronic stress can be passed down epigenetically.
Right.
So in the womb, you can inherit stress,
Right.
and we have not been taught to process it and release it. We've been taught to cope with it, and coping means ignore it, deny it, find a habit that can help you manage it, right? And it's not really managing it, because all it's doing is creating another problem for you long term. And all of this chronic stress, and this is my theory, this is Nurse Blue, okay?
Mhm.
All of this chronic stress over time has created soul toxins.
Mm.
Soul toxins is taking us out.
So explain to the audience what is soul toxins and how do we get rid of how do we flush out these toxins with soul?
Yes. Well, first of all, let me just say that I have never heard anybody say soul toxins but Nurse Blue, so I'm going to
Yes.
own it.
Oh yes, it's on this very podcast. So if I hear anybody else, I'm calling you out. I know that's Nurse Blue. Don't swagger jack.
That's
Okay,
right. Absolutely.
that's all Nurse Blue. Don't take her bars.
Hey, that's Nurse Blue. Thank you, Jeff.
You
Thank you,
welcome.
because you know they will.
I got you back. Right off the bat.
But soul toxins, those are the chronic stressors that remain unprocessed, that are lower vibrational energy, that pollute the soul and then manifest as a disease process in the body over time.
Mm,
So when people, when you think about this, we can we can pass down through our DNA code, through our DNA. We're so powerful that we can, and we're spiritual beings. First and foremost, you cannot heal a problem if you don't know what you are. We're not human beings. And I'm sure a lot of people know that, but we've not been taught how to operate fully as spiritual beings. So even when we say that, really, what does that mean? But we are spiritual beings made of a massive energy. Okay. We're a massive energy that functions on a frequency. You live life on a frequency, right?
mm,
That spiritual being has a soul. That soul is made up of three parts: the subconscious mind, which is not in the body. The subconscious mind is not in the brain, but it is the one thing that the look at your life, whatever it is, good, bad, or indifferent, it was created out of that subconscious mind, and though and that emotional body, which was purposely shut down for us to become um, producers on the planet, right? So that's why we have unprocessed pain, because we were genetically modified, in our case, to be enslaved people. So, in order for you to be effective at being a slave, it was purposely, what was purposely done was trauma. Trauma was a part of the making of the process of a slave, because if you have all of this anger and bitterness and stored energy, what can you do with that energy but take it to the field?
right,
You'll work harder because you're trying to work out that energy, right?
right.
So it's made up the subconscious mind, the emotional body, and the will. All right. Now, when those things are out of balance, they impact the endocannabinoid system, which is the chief operating system of the body. Most people don't even know an endocannabinoid system exists because they don't teach the endocannabinoid system in our medical schools. I think now I heard that they're going to start putting it in books, and they don't teach it in our nursing schools, but it modulates all of the systems of the body. So if you need homeostasis, and homeostasis means that's when your body is in balance. It's when your body is balanced,
Mm,
right? So if you have disease, that means there is an imbalance. The imbalance is taking place at a soul level. So if you're going to heal the body, it requires an elevated thought, an elevated emotion, which means a higher vibrational frequency for you to do that. And what impacts the frequency, Jeff, is what we are eating and what's eating at us.
mm.
Okay.
Right,
So
right.
when those things are out of balance, which right now the world we're living in, when you look at the news and you're hearing about school shootings and mall shootings and all of this chaos in the world, you're looking at soul toxins, and it looks like they're winning.
Mm, absolutely. Especially over this weekend. It was like five shootings over this weekend.
Yes, because we have inherited, and scientists are stating, I've heard this several many times, I've read about this, but our bodies are so incredibly made that it is believed that we have stored in our DNA. There's a scientist by the name of Billy Carson. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but please
Love
go
Billy
look
Carson,
him up.
yes, I do. Mhm.
Okay, so Billy Carson, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Bruce Lipton, these are, well-renowned scientists that teach this information, but they're stating and proving now through their research that we have up to 12 generations of DNA stored in our bodies. So when you think about our people who have an enslaved history, I mean, think about if 12 generations of enslaved history, and our people were enslaved much longer than we've been free.
Free. Hmm.
So that
Absolutely.
genetic code right now is what we are processing, and that's why the soul toxins are at an all-time high, and that's why Nurse Blue is on the planet, because I'm here to create heaven on earth. because I refuse to live in hell.
That's crazy. Let's give a round of applause. Round of applause. Broke it down. Broke it down. Um, my next question to you: what are some steps to guiding the right person in the right way to
Well,
start getting rid of these toxins? Like
well,
diet. What's the first thing they should do?
absolutely. The first thing they should do is decide that they want to become the best version of themselves. Okay. Because that right there, it all starts with the decision. Okay. Then we have to own our feelings. And most people are not emotionally intelligent to know what they're feeling, because what happens with trauma, or what happens with, any kind of major stressor, for you to go through life, you shut down your emotional system, right? And so becoming emotionally intelligent, people cannot remain, we cannot afford any longer to be cut off from our emotional system. Our relationships are falling apart because we have all of this pain and trauma between us, and that, people are getting married with the best intentions to start a family, to build an empire, but these soul toxins is disrupting the goal here. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Then the next thing, after you decide and you start becoming aware that you're not living in peace and you're owning it, that you're not happy, you're not fulfilled, and you decide you want to become your best self, right? um I think you should come and check out Nurse Blue at the Soul Health and Wellness Club, because that's what I created for people. That's what I created for people. But the next step you should take is detox.
Mm.
You have to detox holistically, especially now, because the reason why we're filled with soul toxins, because we're holding so much in, and we were taught to hold it in. I mean, I came from a good family, meaning all the bills were paid. Obviously, because we had this business that was really giving back to the community. We were well known, very well respected in the community, but we still had generations of soul toxins within. And when
Mm.
I tell people, I have actually, when I do my presentations, I show people my template of who Nurse Blue was before. I was a narcissist.
Mm.
I was. And I had to own that. And it was cultivated because it was what people don't understand is the reason why we keep hearing that word all the time is because those are the toxins. Narcissism are some of the toxins that we're holding inside of us, right? So
Right.
after I decided that I was too unhappy to fake it, I couldn't buy it away. I couldn't travel it away. I couldn't date this person, it would go away. I couldn't buy a bigger house. I mean, everywhere I went, my soul toxins would show up and sabotage, or I would move into a space of depression or anger or bitterness or guilt. I was living with this stuff. So I needed to detox my body. So nutritional detox is important, right? Because one of the things we must do with coming back into balance, we have to get this digestive system together. People are literally committing suicide and they don't even realize it, you
Huh?
know?
Mhm.
And a lot of the foods, and I will tell you this, Jeff, my mother was an incredible cook. I mean, my mother could throw down. So I know how to cook, okay?
Yeah.
But when I look at my family, we we all suffered in terms of our health from great tasting food that was not in agreement with the way our body works, right? And it wasn't until I stepped away from the patterns that
Mm.
I was able to balance my own problem, which was psoriasis naturally, thank God, but also prevent. So the other side of it is that we have to get on the preventive side. You know, there are too many people who are being diagnosed with diseases that are preventable. 98% of chronic diseases are preventable, they are lifestyle related.
Mm.
Can you believe that? 96 million people are pre diabetic.
Yeah, I'm a diabetic myself.
And type 2, and let me tell you this, if is it type 2, Jeff?
No, it's just early age, just type one.
Okay. All right. Well, I will tell you this.
It runs in the family.
Okay. Yeah. And in a lot of families. But here's the thing, type 2 diabetes is, I mean, with 96 million people who are pre diabetic, if they don't, and 50% of them don't even know they have it.
Yep.
So that means type 2 it is the next stage.
Hmm.
Now, once you get type 2 diabetes, that will can potentially lead to heart disease, which is the number one killer,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, it can also lead to all kinds of diseases out, it's like it opens the gateway, right? So, but most people don't realize that until it's too late. So if we get to a point where we decide we want to become the best version of ourselves, we want to become the best version of ourselves, we want to live our best life. That means preventing it before it starts.
Hmm.
And all of it is, soul health is about loving yourself back, loving your soul back to health. No one's going to love your soul back to health. The doctors and nurses, we don't go to school or go to training to love ourselves back to health, but you cannot heal without love. Now if you have a situation where perhaps someone is diagnosed with cancer, and they have to go in and get immediate treatment and have it taken out of there, great. That's when Western medicine definitely works in that regard. But if you really do not reverse the problem that led to that cancer, oftentimes, unfortunately, people have to go through it again. So I just think, healing starts with self love. And I had to learn what that truly was about. I wasn't taught self love, I really wasn't.
Mm.
And I think most people don't understand that power of unconditional love because we have never been taught the art, the power, and the science of unconditional love. And that's the most powerful force on the planet. If we knew how to operate in unconditional love, we could reverse all of this. We can have heaven tomorrow.
Absolutely. Yeah, you gotta love yourself first before you can love anybody else.
And really know what that is, really understand the true. And not only that, I mean, everything that we want will come to us because that's the highest vibrational frequency. So if you operate in unconditional love, you don't have to worry about abundance. You don't have to worry about joy. You don't have to worry about success and peace and love. It's there. That's the power of it. But we have been taught to as to be in a state of self-destruction. And self-destruction is the opposite of love, means to hate ourselves.
Hmm.
And when you hate yourself, you can't possibly love your brother. And that's why it's, or your sister, or your mother, or your father effectively. So I think now, given everything that's happening in the world, I'm actually excited about where we are because now we have the potential to change the game. Really.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like self love starts with love. So love is a action word. So you really have to do the work to
You
get where you're trying to go.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. You have to do the spiritual work. It
Yes,
starts with you knowing what you have to operate based on who you are, what you are. And people, unfortunately, we're not going to get that in our school system.
hmm
We're not necessarily taught to operate in that. Our art form that you and I love and share. I mean, that's why we love the 70s so much because the 70s was an infusion of love. And when you really look at the health of our community over time, I think the healthiest that collectively our people were that the time period was the 70s.
yes, and
Mind,
yeah,
spirit, I mean,
love one
life itself.
another. Like the overall message in the '70s was like my mother yearbook was called Reasons.
Really?
Yes, Reasons by the Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yes. It,
So you could tell just by having that as your yearbook theme,
Yes.
how the times was
The energy was so different. The energy
different.
was so different. So I think we can learn from history. I think that's a really great era that we can look back on and see what was happening then that shaped the energy. And we can possibly, if we learn how to build,
Hmm.
love, unite, and empower each other, blue, and we learn to operate at the vibrational level of blue, then we can be restored to health, unity. And that's what true emancipation is.
Absolutely, absolutely. 70s is the most simple era in music.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I,
Oh,
I,
yes.
I mean, between James Brown, the Isley Brothers, and Cool and the Gang, they've been sampled over 5,000 times.
Wow. That's amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, you know, those artists kept our communities healthy. We didn't have life coaches then. And even if we had mental health, people weren't necessarily going unless they were forced to go because of the stigma around mental health. So, music really was the tool that we used to cleanse ourselves of the conditions. My dad was a musicologist, he used blues music.
Right.
So, we had blues and gospel.
That was our therapy.
That was our
That
therapy.
was right there, especially the blues,
Yes.
like Muddy
That was
Waters,
yes.
Little Walter,
Yes.
Holland Wolf.
Yes.
That
And a
was their
lot of those
therapy.
artists come out of Chicago.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I said, it was it's so much when I go into places and they don't have music. I mean, even in hospital institutions that don't have music, I'm like, how are we healing and we don't have something in the background to calm the stress of people?
Hmm.
And I mean, it's just simple modalities that people can do. So when you asked me earlier, outside of, you know, um, becoming self-aware about your emotional intelligence, and detoxing. Another thing, people have to take full responsibility of their energy. And
Mm.
what I mean by that is, I teach my clients the vibrational frequency scale because I think that's the game changer, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with this doctor by the name of David Hawkins?
David Hawkins. It sounds familiar.
Okay, well, he wrote this incredible book called Power versus Force. And
Mm.
he introduced the vibrational frequency scale where he was able to measure with different emotions what they weighed, right? From in terms of hertz. So I always call blue in the world of Nurse Blue, my goal is to be at an 852 hertz because that's unconditional love, right? But
Mm.
the lowest on the scale is shame, which is at a 20. So, and then you can go as, all the way up to like 900, which is like Jesus, enlightenment, what have you, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get up there, right? But
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole but the whole idea is for people to understand when you step on your physical scale, you want to go down sometimes. But when you go on the frequency scale, you want to go all the way up, right? So I teach
Absolutely.
people as we release these soul toxins, how we can go up. And one of the great things that people can do is listen to, great high frequency music. That's
Mhm.
also a way to help balance out the body. And just at the end of the day, I think have a great appreciation for what you're eating, what you're listening to, um, the smells in your environment. That's where aromatherapy is so good. Minimize the media, um, negative news, and
Yeah.
minimize that the interaction of what's happening out here. I can't take. Well, I grew up in a news talk radio station, and quite frankly, I think
It
that
was different back then. It was different.
it was different, absolutely. But the 24-hour news cycle adds to the chronic stress.
Yes.
It's a very unhealthy thing for you to take in 24 hours of negative vibrational anything.
Absolutely.
And come to the Soul Health and Wellness Club and hang out with Nurse Blue. You're gonna feel better. Don't you feel better with us talking right now?
Absolutely. I'm about to give me a session by myself. Sign me up, Miss
Come
Nurse Blue.
on.
Um, origin of your name, Nurse Blue. Can you give us the story of the origin of the name?
I would love to. So, the one person on this planet that taught me unconditional love was my dad,
Hmm.
Purvis Span, the blues man.
Give him a round of applause. He got a round of applause.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome.
So, my dad left the planet March 14th of 2022, and he died of complications of Alzheimer's. And at his funeral, I told all of the community that I was going to keep his legacy alive. And so, as we said goodbye, I said hello, and I'm a legacy child. So I'm here to serve. I'm here to elevate the vibrational frequency of the soul in my way, and keep and he introduced. I mean, we own the frequency, so I teach people about frequencies and finding wellness radio. Within themselves. So that's where Blue comes from. Build, love, unite, and empower. And that's what we did at WVOM. We celebrated 60 years of
Wow.
serving the community.
Is it
And
still
that's
going? Do you
Oh
still have?
yeah, it's
Oh,
still
okay.
going. It's still a news talk radio station. I'm not involved in it because you know how things kind of change. Soul toxins have their way of showing up in the family breakdown. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but here's what Nurse Blue does. Nurse Blue always leaves space for things to become whole because that's our goal, right? Wholeness is
Absolutely.
what we're looking for. But yeah, it's there.
Right. Right. And you have your own podcast, correct?
No, I don't have
Oh,
my own podcast.
I think you need one.
You think so?
Yes. Let's make it happen. I'm going to executively produce Nurse Blue podcast, and I would love to have you part of the roster coming up.
Jeff, from your mouth to God's ears. Hey, I'm ready. Hey,
That's we got to put the work in. That's all. I have a fan question for you.
yes.
Um, Ask Nurse Blue if she believes women have more loving energy than men. If all the world leaders were women, would there be as many wars and hatred amongst nations?
Ooh, that's a great question. It all depends on how healed the women are.
Bingo.
I would tell you, I have worked exclusively. I was thinking about this today. All of my superiors have been women.
Mm.
My entire, even though my father owned the station, I still had a boss that I reported to as a woman. So I have a great appreciation for women leadership. I think that all of us possess, and that's a great question, sweetheart. I think all of us possess the power to love. I think the feminine energy is what's needed to heal at this time, but we can only do so in a space of wholeness. So
Mm.
if the leadership is operating from a space of wholeness, meaning we're not leading from the wound, we're leading from the scar, and we're teaching and empowering, we need that right now to heal the earth. That's what the earth needs. And actually, as we come into balance as masculine and feminine, because we both have masculine and feminine energy, then that is the secret ingredient. That's why we're here. We're here to make this place whole.
Right.
So women leadership is necessary, but any leadership that is operating out of a space of brokenness is dangerous. It doesn't matter if it's men or women.
Perfect. That was a perfect answer. Nurse Blue. Before we got out of here, is there anything else you would like to touch on and actually give some more knowledge to our audience on how to do better when it comes to their mental health?
Well, I will tell you that soul health is the solution. That's the solution you've been looking for. Soul health is the solution. And in terms of, is it okay if I give them my information, Jeff? Now,
Absolutely, and also her information, her website, and everything is in the description below. So if you want to book a session, all that good stuff, get some more information on Nurse Blue, just hit that link in the description.
thank you. So if you can come to soulhealthcommunity.com, and I just, when you come to Soul Health, it's the home for the soul. I want people to grow in community, learning the power of who they are. And it's a place where you can live, love, laugh and learn, because that's what the soul needs, right?
Right.
So come to soulhealthcommunity.com, come and check us out. And actually, I give you 2 weeks free trial to,
Uh-oh.
yeah, 2 weeks free trial. And in terms of soul toxins, I just want to show people how to release years of anger, bitterness, pain, trauma, slave stench. If you're not feeling good inside, or you having drama and all kinds of stuff is happening in your life, that's called slave stench.
Mm.
And all of us have a little bit of it.
Oh, yes, we do.
All of us have it. I mean, I don't care how good, how much you have. I don't. You can be in a beautiful, privileged palace with soul toxins. So come and learn more about that, so we can all heal and be emancipated by our own energy.
Absolutely. Nurse Blue, it was a pleasure having you on. This is
Thank
n- not the last time.
Yay!
This is you're officially a Saucy alumni. So if you have anything in the near future to promote or anything like that, you're more than welcome to come back on this platform. The doors is
No,
always open to you.
thank you.
Absolutely. Don't forget to actually go to Nurse Blue website in the description below. Make sure you show love and support to all her social media platforms as well. I would like to thank everybody who joined in to this live. If you didn't have the chance to join into this live, if you're listening at home, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts, we appreciate you for listening to this podcast. Don't forget to get some official social conversation merch that's on Teespring. That is just hit that social combinations link tree link. It will take you to all the platforms we're on, and also to where to get our future merch. Shout out to our sponsors, Click A Vodka, and also Holistic Remedies. Don't forget to use that promo code when it comes to Holistic Remedies. That's HRME Saucy, and you get 10% off. Okay, we appreciate you. Shout out to my gracious co-host
Thank
couldn't be here today. Shout out to Renee, shout out to Dash, shout out to Mac, and we're gonna keep this movement going. Don't forget to look out for the 24/7 network, TV network is coming real soon. We got the merch is almost done, our server is done, so we're just looking for the right time to actually drop the network. So make sure you actually stay tuned to all our social media platforms to get updated information on when we drop on our TV network. Okay. So, Nurse Blue, God bless you.
thank
Um,
you. God bless you, brother.
and I'm looking forward to working with you more in the near future. And good luck to you.
Thank you. All the best to you, and thank you to your wonderful audience.
Absolutely,
Let's go up the
absolutely,
frequency, guys. Go up to
absolutely,
blue.
absolutely. In the good words of Fat Joe,
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
peace and love, everybody.